I'm out in my shop. I'm looking for some scrap wood. Let's see what I can find. I have sheets of plywood over here that were donated to me. They were given to me by a sweet client's husband who was cleaning out his garage. I still have a lot of spindles. I've used a lot. I've given a lot of them away. Still have a lot of those. I've a seat to a chair that I use the legs for spindles. I have a couple of old chairs, some old chairs, a bunch of junk. I have still some of that flooring that my sister-in-law found for me on the side of the road. A lot of junk. I have a couple of scraps here. There's some good stuff in there. Lots of sawdust from the saw above it. Lots of nice long pieces here. Not really suitable for my inspiration piece. Ooh, wait. Well, what do we have here? Yes, I think these two pieces will work out of all of this. Spindles, pieces of furniture I took apart. Lots of scrap wood that's been donated or found on the side of the road. Guys, keep your eyes peeled and pick up scrap wood. These are the two pieces I'm going to be using today. Let's go. Okay, the first thing we have to do to make our cutting boards is to give them that shape. We need to make a handle. So I cut this little template out on a piece of paper. Yes, it was super windy that day, most days in Texas. So I took a piece of paper, folded it in half, and cut the shape I wanted so that both sides would be the same. And then I just laid it on my board and traced around it. But you're going to see that once I cut one side, I just flipped it over and cut the other side to match. That was the easiest thing for me to do. So here we go, tracing around it. Get a good nice dark line so you can see it when you start to cut. So here I'm with my handy dandy jigsaw. I've had this jigsaw for years. It's probably not the best quality, but hey, it gets the job done. So I'm just going to go right around that line, taking it nice and slow and easy. And ta-da! First half is done. Now I flipped it over because I wanted this to be on the right side. On my right side. Not the correct side, but my right side. So I just flipped it over and traced that off on that side so I could have both sides the same. Now for my second piece, it's a longer piece, so I traced out a longer handle. And I decided I wanted that inside curve to be a little bit curvier than what I had actually drawn. So here I go with my hair in the way, and I did not have my safety goggles on. Don't scold me. I should have, but y'all, the wind was blowing so hard I couldn't barely even keep my head on, much less glasses on my face. So this time I just decided to take the piece that I had cut off and put it on there and draw it. Okay, so sanding it all down, I started with 150, ended with 400 grit. I just sanded all my edges nice and smooth, the fronts, the backs, the tops, all of it on both pieces. And then when we get it all sanded down, wipe it down real good, and then I'm going to take it inside the craft cottage. My husband actually came out and used these huge drill bits, look at these, and drilled the holes in the handles for me. Then I took one of the handles from one of these foam paint brushes, because I never throw them away, and I wrapped some sandpaper around it and made myself a little sanding tool that I could sand the inside of those holes. I thought that was pretty smart of me. Anyway, so then I'm taking a damp cloth, got them cut, got them sanded, got them clean, now ready to paint. So I'm using my DIY brush. It's a Klingon R14. I actually got this one from Bree, but you can get your DIY supplies, paints, paintbrushes, everything you need from Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs, and her website will be linked in the description box below. I'm using White Swan by DIY to paint the front, sides, back, every inch of this board, and I'm giving it 2 coats. This is the longer one, And I'm going to give it 2 coats. I don't think I gave the back 2 coats, but all the rest of it got 2 coats. Now I'm going to get out my IOD transfers. This is that one. Yep, I'm not going to try to pronounce all those words. Flora something. Anyway, beautiful floral pieces. I get my IOD supplies from Two Chicks Home and Market. They're over in Denison, Texas. They have the cutest little shop downtown. But you can use the link in my description box to go there and shop. And if you're a first-time purchaser, you get 10% off with that link. So be sure and go and get some IOD at 10% off. Now I'm just cutting these out. They line up real nicely. They're so easy to line up, and they look so beautiful. This is so much prettier than it is on camera. So much prettier in person. Okay, so I'm going to just rub this on. If you've never used a rub-on transfer before, they are super easy. Just lining it up where I want it to go. The grid helps to be able to line it up evenly. Now, I had to rub pretty firmly, and as I rubbed off those black lines. So I would say if you have a light colored background surface, to be careful, because I did get a little bit of that black on my white surface, and where I rubbed, I had to go back and touch it up with my white swan paint, which was no big deal, but I'm just saying, you know, be careful. So I'm just rubbing and lifting and rubbing and lifting. And I did not get on camera where I put the big flower up on top, but you can see over there, I'm trying to point at the screen while I'm talking. You can see that you can see that black down there on the bottom underneath the leaves that I was talking about. And I'm burnishing. I'm all over the place with this. I'm sorry. I'm burnishing this now because if you have a little bit of that glue around the edges, that will disappear when you burnish it. Okay, so I did put that flower on, did the same process with that flower. That flower sat right on top of those green leaves. Okay, now I made this stencil with my Cricut, and I got that out of Cricut Design Space. I'm going to line it up, get it even, and burnish it down. And my handy dandy tweezers, I could not craft without them. To get that off there, make it nice and smooth. Then I'm going to take some Mod Podge. I always do this when I use stencils. Give it a coat of Mod Podge, and this will prevent bleeding. It works great for me every single time. So just go up and down, side to side. Make sure it gets on there really good. And then I taped my edges so I didn't get any extra. Now I mixed some elephant gray and some black Waverly chalk paint. I didn't have any of the right color in the DIY, but I already ordered it and it's on its way. So I will have the right color next time. But I did have some, but it froze. It was part of that I'm replacing from the freeze when my paints got ruined. So I'm just dabbing with a makeup sponge and dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. Get it all. When I realize that I've got it all on there good, then I just remove all of that stencil very carefully. I do like to wait to get the insides out until it's dried a little bit, and then I wipe my tweezers off every time because a little bit of that black paint could be on those tweezers, so I wipe them off so that I don't make a big mess. And it's beautiful. So now I'm going to use the DIY clear wax and an old scrap piece of an old t-shirt, and I'm just going to rub that in all over this. This is completely dry. I'm going to rub it all over that transfer. It's going to seal it all down nicely. In case you're not familiar with DIY paints, they are clay-based, clay and mineral-based, I believe, and if they get wet, it will reactivate the paint so you can rub it and it will rub off. So it's very important that you seal it with some kind of sealer. A top coat, a wax, something. So this is how it turned out. It's huge. It is lovely. I think it turned out great. It was really hard to take pictures because it was so big. Okay, this next board, I painted it and I thought I could see some of the yellow from the wood coming through. I'm not sure that's what it was, but I took some polyacrylic on the other side before I did the next coat, and I gave it a good coat of polyacrylic and let it dry thoroughly for several hours. And then I'm using my White Swan again by DIY, and I'm giving it a good coat. 2 coats, front, back, sides, the whole 9 yards. Y'all, I'm apologizing for my voice. I've been a little bit under the weather today, and so my voice is a little scratchy. My throat is sore. So I apologize for that if it's hard to listen to me. Now I'm going to find the center of my board and put a tiny little light mark with my pencil. And then I'm going to find the center of my image. So I'm putting those letters together to find the center of my image. And then I'm going to hover over where I want the stencil to go before I start laying it down. Because once it's down, it's down. You can't really pick it back up. So put it down, burnish it good where all those little letters are going to be, and then, oh, I'm erasing the mark. Okay. And then I'm going to peel back the transfer tape, making sure that I'm burnishing down that stencil really good. Then I'm going to take the Mod Podge and give it a good coat, one good coat of Mod Podge all over the stencil, you know, just where the paint is going to be, so that we won't have any bleeding. I do have stars at the bottom of this. You're about to see it because I'm going to flip it upside down. I did some stars at the bottom, and they're going to get a coat of Mod Podge as well because we don't want any of that paint bleeding through. That's too much work to have to go back. And occasionally I'll have to go back and do some touch-up painting, but normally it's when I peel the stencil off and I'm using my tweezers to peel up is usually when I drop a piece of the stencil or something on it and make a boo-boo. Or sometimes I don't get enough of my paint, like this black, I don't get enough of it. I think one of his hooves I didn't get enough paint on and I had to go and touch that up. But that kind of stuff is no big deal. Lots of bleeding, oh yeah, that's a big deal. So got this really sped up. I'm not really this fast at stenciling, but I'm just using, this time I'm using a little dauber. And I think I got these in a multi-pack at Michael's one time when they were on sale, or I had a coupon or something. Now I'm using that wet wipe to clean my fingers because I'm peeling this while it's wet. Oh, you can see that little star down there on the bottom right. I did mess that up, but I'll go back with a little tiny paintbrush and just clean that up later. It was not difficult. So it's all done now, all dry, and I'm going to take a sanding block and just distress it a little bit. I'm making this for a very special friend. Her family had a cattle farm for years, and so I'm just making this for her. And she likes, you know, a little distressed farmhouse look, so that's what we're getting. So I'm going to use my brush this time because this is a large project, and it doesn't look like I'm doing circles, but I'm kind of doing a little bit of circular motion with this brush, wax brush. And then I'm taking this really thick nautical rope I get at Dollar Tree, and it was really hard to make a knot with this big thick rope. So get out my little needle nose pliers and let it be my fingers, since I don't have that great a grip in my old fingers anymore, and just pull and tug until I feel like it's tight. And here is the final product. So let me know which of these is your favorite. Do you love them both? They were super easy to make. Would you try to make some out of some scrap wood? Let me know what you think. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. But most of all, remember to be still and know that He is God. Thanks for watching and be blessed.